necklace on your wrist, a plain Jane.
The following video is broadcasting live, and thank you for being my studio audience. Thank you for hitting thumbs up and subscribing to my channel for more black news, celebrity entertainment, and a splash of controversy. What up and welcome back. It's your girl Jane, the plainest Jane, and we got some syrup to get into. Come on in, have a seat on the bus. Thank you for joining me on this bus ride. Listen, you know it's free to ride my bus. I want you to get comfortable, okay? Whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're doing dishes, whether you're doing laundry, whatever it is that you're doing around your home, just get comfortable. Pay your fare. Listen, it's free to support the show. There's a lot of ways you can support the show, but listen, donate. And it's free to donate. Pay your fare, okay, for free by hitting thumbs up. You can cash app, you can super chat, you can super thanks. But most importantly, make sure you tap that thumbs up button. And I'm glad that you're on the bus this evening, okay? You know things are always sticky in Hollywood and in real life. And we're going to be getting into some things this evening. So we're going to talk about the baby, okay? Some recent breaking celebrity news. We're going to be talking about the baby getting rejected, trying to kiss another fan, okay? Very entitled, misogynistic, toxic, masculine fella. We're also going to be talking about a see-through woman. Okay, I know you read the title. We're going to get down to the serious issues, but you know I like to keep a balance. If things get a little too heavy, I like to include some other stuff, make some other stops, just so that we can get our, our laugh and giggle on and kiki a little bit. But we are going to be talking about a see-through woman in Virginia. She literally sued the school district because she claims that color race theory is making her son not want to do his chores. So she's suing the school. Mind you, critical race theory is nothing more than anti-racist, in understanding or teaching, right? We're also going to be talking about Black Lives Matter. That is a hot button topic. Everyone has wanted to talk about it. Candace Owens entered the chat not too long ago, despite the fact that she's 7 months pregnant and she's doing some stuff that places her and her baby at risk. But we are going to be talking about the misallocation of funds because the tax records or the tax filings were released exclusively to the Associated Press. So we're going to get into that because what it does is it exposes and discloses where the money really went. A lot of people want to know outside of that $6 million house, what else is really going on? Okay. We're going to be talking about aliens just a little bit. We got to pass through that neighborhood because the government decides to introduce aliens to the media cycle. And when the government begins to let the media and introduce stuff to the media about aliens, we already know what time it is, right? UFOs, extraterrestrial life, however you want to refer to it. We are going to circle back around to the Buffalo shooting family background, okay? New reasons that the family of the thug, okay, they spoke out to the media and they're talking about why their dangerous thug of a son decided to target and kill over 10 people of color. It's the caucasity for me. It's the caucasity, but I want to talk about it and I want to see how you feel about it as well. And of course, we're going to be talking about all things social media and more. So we have a really sturdy show in store for us this evening. And I'm so excited to have y'all on the bus. Okay. So listen, if you're on the bus, make sure you hit thumbs up, have a seat, get comfortable, pull up, grab your lituation, whether you rolled it, you smoke it, you bong, whatever it is that you do, get cozy. And shout out to everybody in the live chat and especially my channel members. Shout out to my moderators. Listen, let's get ready for takeoff. Without further ado, we got a lot of stuff that we get into and I don't want to waste any time. Make sure you're paying attention to the chat because if there is something that you want to say, I'm going to drop the link so you can call in and give your thought in about 2 or 3 minutes or less. And we can keep going through other things that we need to discuss today. So it's going to be a full bus ride.
The plainest Jane. This is one of my favorite comments here. She says, I loves me some black. And she said, loves me some black news. She says, is it just me or does anyone else get tired of seeing people that don't look like them delivering info about them day in and day out?
And we're back, and thank you so much for hitting thumbs up on the video. And listen, if you haven't already subscribed, if you're not willing to commit to subscribing right now, consider subscribing a little bit later in the video if you appreciate the way that I present information and all of the topics that we're going to discuss today, okay? But without further ado, welcome aboard the Black News Bus. The Black News Bus is a series, but it's a social media stroll that covers Black topics inside of the celebrity world, but it also covers real Black news involving everyday people like you and me. And you know I'm always going to mix a little bit of Black history in. So real quick, I hope that y'all are feeling all right. All right. I hope that you've had a good day. Y'all know before I get into breaking down anything that I discuss on my channel, I recommend that you check in with your own invisible warfare, your invisible problems. You ain't got no business dibbling and dabbling into all of the polarizing things that are happening in the news and the media unless you've checked in with your own sanity, your own household, and your own family. So do that or click away if you need to, and I'll catch you in the next video, okay? Shout out to my new subscribers, okay? We're at 5,000 right now, and I appreciate that. I want to talk about last night's video, but before I do that, I want to get into some other stuff. I do have a little order that I'm working in, and sometimes I get a little anxious and scramble things around. But listen, as you get comfortable on the bus, before I get into breaking down these things, make sure you subscribe and thumbs up or down. Either way, I appreciate it. But make sure you think critically and independently, regardless of what you hear from me or anybody else. So let's get right into it, shall we? Let's get right into it. Did you know, okay, did you know that the thug that killed 10 innocent people, 10 innocent colored people in New York, do you know he killed and decapitated a cat in March? Did you know that? See, I would put his picture on the screen, but I feel like I just have enough of seeing him. I don't want to put him on my screen. Did you know he killed and decapitated a cat in March? Oh, his mom was fully aware. Matter of fact, his whole family was fully aware, but his mom in particular, she was fully aware. When we talk about the thug, the very dangerous thug, a danger to society. He's a grown man. He was 18 years old. He's legally an adult. He's a thug. You know how quick they like to call Black folks a thug. You got a fake $20 bill or a suspected fake $20 bill, you're a thug. That thug killed a cat in March. His mom was fully aware because he still lived with his parents. Right now he lives in jail, but he did definitely still live with his parents. And he also did it in the family garage in the family's home where he still lived. Now, you might be asking yourself, okay, he decapitated a cat. What was his mom's reaction? Well, she gave him a box so that he could bury it in the backyard. She gave him and then somehow his young ass gets his hands on heavy machinery to kill Black folk. Shout out to the United Kingdom, because I did have some people reach out and saying that, you know, that they are viewers from there. So I had no clue that I had a little population of it. A box. Listen, here's the thing. You got to understand. I recently, within the last, I think like 2 months, I seen the video, which is basically a documentary style, like an urban documentary called "Don't Fuck with Cats" on Netflix. And basically, the point that I'm making and bringing up "Don't Fuck with Cats," it's ironic that it was a cat that y'all know I got a cat, right? And y'all know my cat is mouthy, okay? Leo, get down. Get down. It's not a thank you, because it's not a question. I don't understand why he's so goddamn sassy. Okay, I don't know where he gets it from. But listen, don't fuck with cats. But any regular person will tell you, any basic psychologist, or if you study human behavior, when people start off with animal cruelty, if they begin killing animals, they're going to move on to people eventually. The thrill, in order to satisfy that sick desire to end life, even if it's an animal, at some point they move on to wanting to kill people. That's something that, if you haven't seen, if you still got Netflix, before you cancel it, because I understand we are in the beginning of the end of Netflix. If you haven't already checked out Don't Fuck with Cats, please check it out. I promise you, even if you're not an animal person, I promise you, honestly, it's not even about cats. After I got about like 20 minutes into it, I realized this is not even about cats. It is about a sadistic person who started with animals and moved on to people, and studying the psychology of that person. It's a sick film, but nonetheless, why didn't his parents do anything to get him some help? See, when there's people connected to people like this, whether it be a Frank James, I don't care what color you are. I don't care what color you are. Some of these people that surrounded them and that coddled them need to be investigated, especially somebody that's 18 years old and already a proud, a bold, and audacious white supremacist. Please understand he learned that from somewhere. Why wouldn't you open an investigation in the home in which he was raised? White supremacists under 21 learn that shit from somewhere. If y'all don't look into them parents or look into the kid, the siblings of him, something's wrong with that. But nonetheless, I just found it interesting that he decapitated the cat and the mom didn't get him some help. I mean, if you're killing anything more than bugs in my house, you need some help. Because, baby, I'm afraid of bugs. But, you know, dogs, animals, if anybody's ever seen Dexter was one of those serial killers, but he started out killing a dog, the neighbor's dog, as a matter of fact. And he moved on to people. That's just basic, you know, the basic study of human behavior. It really is. Thank you so much for the $15 super chat. Been watching, so I want to support. Thank you for the great content. Thank you so much. I do all I can to make sure I can prioritize quality over quantity and make sure that I'm giving you valuable content and stuff that is thought-provoking, and stuff that's just a little bit different than the surface level celebrity stuff. And you know, a bit of a different and a unique perspective. So thank you so much for that. So yeah, that is that, right? When we get into talking about Buffalo, New York, let's move on to the next subject, right? And let me keep this super chat on the screen because I appreciate it so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's move on. We're still talking about the Buffalo shooter, right? Let's talk about how his family is making excuses right now. You remember Fox News blatantly tried to make the excuse that it was mental illness as to why he grew so emboldened, okay, to target a poor neighborhood, drive over 2 hours away just to shoot up some Black people. Because, and if you looked at everything that was written on his rifle, it was all types of racial slurs. Here's your reparations, this, that, and the third. Like it was a mess. He even hurled slurs at the manager of the store. It's a sick mess, right? And it took me a while to get into it, right? I like to mind my mental peace, but I need to stay in the know so that I'm able to bring you all the information and give you kind of an urban edge to what's happening in the world, right? So the parents come with something different than mental illness. They're blaming it on the Rona. They're saying, oh my goodness, you know, the Rona, being stuck in the house, the panorama, the lockdown, it made him so anxious that this is the reason why he decided to shoot up at this supermarket. And I beg your pardon, because no ma'am. I try to save going to the bush until a little bit later, but I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Thank you for rejoining the membership. I am what I am. You know, the family is claiming that he murdered 10 people due to COVID. Okay. He was paranoid based off of the lockdown. They're saying that he snapped at the supermarket based off of the paranoia and isolation during the pandemic. I know you lying. Friends and relatives of the family say they never saw any warning signs of the 18-year-old Peyton and how he was about to snap. You're a lie. The warning sign was when he decapitated a cat. When he cut the cat's head off, you should have known something was wrong. You should have known. Yeah, I'm so sorry, but I've got to get Tyra Banks and I got to let her yell at you for a second because you knew something was wrong. You wanted to cover it up, though.
But you're not. Stop it! I have never in my life yelled at a girl like this. When my mother yells at this, it's because she loves me. I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you? Learn something from this. You go to bed at night, you lay there, and you take responsibility for yourself.
It's too much. Find out he decapitated the cat. I mean, between decapitating the cat, between writing the long messages over almost 600 pages of him wanting to target Black people. Please stop. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat, Darlene. It says, Jane, keep up the great job. We love you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. It is really appreciated. And I know that you are one of my faithful supporters, even from the old channel before they deleted the child. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. This is a mess. We're not having it. We're not having it. We're just not having it as a people. We're too smart for this. We're not going for it. They will make up any excuse. Baby, we was all locked in the house. All of us didn't just turn into terroristic mass murderers. And here's another thing that I want to say. When it comes to the great replacement theory, and that's something that, what's his name? Peyton? Because in my mind, he's just a thug, okay? A snowflake thug. He was a firm believer in the great replacement theory. Exterminate all Black folk and let's get them out of here and replace blah blah blah. Like I'm not even about to get into that, right? It's too heavy to explain. But if you know, you know. It's interesting how they call it the great replacement theory. You know, the great replacement theory is basically the mass murder, right? The mass extinguishing of colored folks. Or who, insert person here. It's really a more palatable term for being a fucking terrorist. And if it was a Black person, they wouldn't have called it no goddamn great replacement theory. They wouldn't have called it a theory at all. This is terroristic ideology, period. And instead of you calling it that, you're called the great shouldn't be in the it shouldn't be in the thumbnail. What he believes is that all Black people should be dead. That's not a theory. There's nothing great about trying to stop it. These are the type of games that the media play. And me being a player in media and someone that took interest in media when I was literally 5 to 6 years old, still got to call out the bullshit in the games. You've got to. And what the headline that we're about to get into in a second as well, it lends itself to that. It lends itself to that. When we look at certain headlines and the terminology, you really have got to watch the way that the media words things. Because when people are ready to flat out kill us Black folk, the terminology is a lot different. Keep in mind, we don't have an anti-hate bill like others do. So I want you to take a look at this and tell me what you notice. Take a look at this headline, right? The Associated Press. This is not the last time that we're going to be visiting the Associated Press, which honestly, I got to admit, is a very trusted, a very credible source. Okay? But I want you to tell me what you notice. What I notice when I see headlines like this, because this is something that happened just recently, is our harm is not being prioritized or included in the headlines. So I can take it a step further and say, do you notice in this language that they start calling crimes like this a hate crime straight out the gate? Straight out the gate. This a brand new situation straight out the gate. Oh, FBI's this is a hate crime. They don't tolerate that. But for some reason, when white supremacists go out of their way and you even find almost 600 pages of evidence, the words written on the rifle, the Twitch video from the Buffalo shooter, him having had decapitated a cat in March, him having had already visited that market before to basically do a trial run. Y'all seen Set It Off, right? Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett, Kimberly Elise. I forget the fourth person. Vivica Fox. Before they went and robbed that bank and committed that crime just to steal money, they went and did a test run, a run through to map out the spot and take measure and just get everything facilitated mentally so that they knew when they did it the final time. It's no different than what this white thug did up in Buffalo, New York. He did a test run. But nonetheless, to bring it back in, they start using this type of language immediately. And I'm not taking anything away. This is unfortunate. This is unfortunate. We look at this headline that says the FBI is investigating a shooting that wounded 3 women at a hair salon in Dallas, Koreatown as a potential hate crime. That's strong verbiage. It's strong verbiage, albeit accurate and substantiated, because Asians have their own hate crime bill. We don't. When you look at the record, when you look at history, who was oppressed first in America? Was it Black people or was it Asians? Because to my knowledge, we were stolen and brought over here against our will. And so the fact that our hate crime bill is delayed and or will never happen, but Asians just get the... This is unfortunate what happened. However, due to the fact that the victims of a specific origin, right? They start using language like this in the headlines. Our harm isn't prioritized in this way. You look up all the headlines about this white dangerous thug up in Buffalo, New York. Mass shooting, mass shooting, mass shooting, mass shooting. And nowhere do they introduce hate crime to those headlines. Nowhere. And it wasn't until about like 2 days later where they ended up, saying that, well, suspected white supremacists. But that's a couple days later. And people run off of emotions when they decide to lend care or concern to, a specific matter. So it's really interesting. This is unfortunate. However, people like this, because they have bills and legislation to back them up, an anti-hate bill, they are to catch, right, whether it be social justice, justice in the courtroom, sooner than us. Because a lot of people turn a blind eye and are desensitized and don't care to put hate crime in a headline when only Black people were targeted. And why is that? Why is that? Not to mention somebody literally trying to kill Black people. Oh, it's the great replacement theory. Why even put that connotation on them? You know why? Because it's lucrative and it's a business move to oppress and exterminate, and it's an agenda to kill Black people. Capitalists are going to capitalize. But listen. Before I get caught in that rut, before I get caught in that loophole, let me just move on. I just wanted to see if y'all picked up on this, because I see this today and I'm like, this is a fresh incident, and they've already got hate crime cemented to the headlines. They're handling certain people with care. People, if you've got a hate crime bill, and I'm not saying, again, it's unfortunate. I'm not trivializing 3 people who were wounded because they were targeted because they were Asian. Of course, the person who did this is Black. I feel like that also has something to do with it. I'm not excusing what he did. I'm not saying that it's okay in any world, on any day and any time. Black men targeting Asian people, automatically they won't call it a hate crime in the headlines. But a white guy targeting Black people, y'all too scared to put hate crime in y'all headlines? Yeah, make some sense. So in my opinion, it's handling them with care over us. It is prioritizing their harm over ours. And it's really strong language to reiterate how wrong a crime is. A crime like this is because of who the target was. Okay. If you are in the live chat, first of all, thank you for hitting thumbs up. But if you want to voice your opinion, or if you want to call into the show, make sure you're watching the chat closely. Okay. Hey, thanks for letting me keep you connected and in the know with what's happening in the Black world. Don't forget to smash on that like button for support and for more Black news. So I think that in general, just what the media does in general, like why today, we're going to get into that in a second. Why today, all of a sudden, the government want to talk about aliens and they want to give it to the media so that the media can follow suit and do it too? Why? What are you distracting us from? I just want to know. These are times where they're going to run more hate crime titles, right? Just so that the Buffalo, New York murders are in the mix. Okay. They want it to become less of a focal point. And so injecting other hate crimes, or where other groups of people were targeted, they're going to do that a little bit more, in my opinion, now, because they want old boy to be less of a focal point, but he's still very much a dangerous thug. Okay. Let's call a thing a thing. Okay. This is serious stuff. First of all, shout out to everybody who watched last night's live show. Last night's live show was amazing. If you caught it live, if you were on the bus, that means you were here in real time where we had no issues. I wake up this morning and there's all these complaints about how the video continues to buffer. And if a lot of you don't know, I've been through some changes with the channel. Okay. And I've been being a bit more bold with speaking about racial injustice and things that are a little bit more sensitive. A lot of subscribers, I had a lot of DMs, I had a lot of messages, and people who were like, listen, YouTube is definitely censoring you. They're fucking with you because you're covering stuff that's just a bit more controversial and polarizing. And listen, I'm like, why not push the limits? I have a voice. My tribe is still refinding me again. But everyone who was trying to watch the video, now it's fine. When you go back, you rewatch the video from last night, everyone who was having issues with the loading and the buffering every 8 seconds, it was doing that. And it's because I think I'm covering heavier topics. I'm talking about all of the color issues, black, white, this, that, and the third. And I'm talking about people who abuse the label and use the LGBT community as a shield. I have a lot of affiliation with the LGBT community, and I have no issue with them. And all of the people that I'm cool and I'm cordial with, I know what their intent is not. And there are a lot of pedophiles and a lot of groomers who are using the LGBT community as a shield. And I have been calling that out a lot lately. And so it's really ironic that the week that I really start kind of going in and really vocalizing some of those issues, all of a sudden YouTube is creating these playback issues for some of my content. So listen, it's interesting. Last night's show was absolutely amazing. Okay. It was the debut of the Black News Bus, but everything should be good to go now. I am recording the show so that I can just re-upload it, because it's only doing that and giving everyone playback issues on live videos. If it's a hard upload and you upload something, they're not giving people issues or pauses or buffering problems when it comes to those things. So I just wanted to make y'all all aware, and I wanted to thank the 150 or so folks who were a part of the live show and caught the bus live in real time. And shout out to Leah for joining the membership. Okay. I thank you so much for that. Let me just also go ahead and say this. Am I allowed to say that I'm sick of Lil Boosie? Am I allowed to say that? Because I'm absolutely sick of Lil Boosie. What is Lil Boosie popping up in the news today for? Talking about Will Smith and the slap. Boosie sat down with Vlad TV for the 89th and a half time I saw this morning. We are only, 5 months into the year? And Lil Boosie done been to Vlad TV about 80 times already since the year done started. And you mean to tell me it's no money over there at Vlad TV? Vlad TV, I don't pay for interviews. I don't pay people to sit over here. They just, and you know what? Let's keep it a buck. 85% of us feel like Vlad is an agent. He's an informant, because there have been so many people who have went over there and snitched on themselves or snitched on their homies, just getting a little bit too comfortable in that white man's chair, telling on themselves and their black compadres and what they done. So for Boosie to keep running his ass over there and it ain't no paycheck, help me understand. And why? Why is Boosie bringing up Will Smith and Chris Rock? Baby, we just had like 2 weeks in the media without him. They did too much. They beat that dead horse until you couldn't beat that thing no more. Why do we need Boosie over here trying to integrate Will and Chris and Jada back into the headlines? Why? Boosie, give it a rest. Give it a rest. Boosie is going to be the catalyst that throws me into the bush so I can weep. Then we're going to go ahead and take these phone calls because it's just too much.
It was gone.
Let me just go in the bush and weep. Let me just go in the bush and weep. I just have to go in the bush and weep. Really. I don't understand. I swear to God, I don't understand.
It's just too much for me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Leah up real quick. Leah, how are you doing? I heard you just have one thing to say. And
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the content that you've been bringing us. And I really appreciate, especially tonight, the coverage you did of the shooter, because I'm a cashier in a supermarket, and that story particularly scared me. Especially every day that I go to work, I look at who enters, and it's very concerning. So thank you for covering that.
You are more than welcome. And I'm so sorry that you have to work in fear. Living in fear, is a thing. Working in fear is another thing. And, no one should have to work and be afraid that, based off of being a cashier or just working in a market that you're going to get hurt. That really sucks. How do you
Mhm.
feel about this situation overall, though?
Well, I actually live and work 30 minutes from where this person
Oh
grew
my
up,
God.
and I encounter people similar to him, and I'm Hispanic myself. I speak fluent Spanish. I'm married to a Mexican, so I fear for my safety a lot of the times, but luckily I'm able to pass, and they don't question my ethnicity that much. But if I weren't able to pass, I would definitely fear for my safety more.
There are a lot of
Um,
prayer hands in the chat right now. I'm definitely going to keep you lifted in prayer just because you just have no clue whether it's 1 year it's a movie theater, 1 year or 1 month it's a church, 1 year it's a market. You just have no clue, and stuff like that does set you off. Back in the what was it, 2001, when September 11th happened, it was, oh my God, all the government employees at the government buildings were afraid. And I know because all of my family has always worked in government buildings. It's like, oh, I work in a government building, I'm afraid. Well, it's not just people who work for the government anymore. It's a Burger King, it's a market, it's a,
right.
it's a lot, and it can't be easy. And I have anxiety myself, so I know it can't be easy. So I just wish you
Mm.
the best, and we're gonna keep you lifted in prayer for sure.
Thank you so much, and thank you again for all the coverage. Besides this, I love all the videos you make, so I appreciate you, and thank you again.
Thank you so much, Leah. I appreciate you calling in, and thank you for joining the membership. We will talk backstage one day soon. Okay. I appreciate her calling in. All right. So we are going to go to our next caller. Now, this is a friend of the show. The following video is broadcasting live, and thank you for being my studio audience. Thank you for hitting thumbs up and subscribing to my channel for more Black news, celebrity entertainment, and a splash of controversy. Hey, welcome back to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
It's
Thank you
good
for
to see
asking.
you.
Good. You look
Yeah.
really nice. You changed your hair. That looks so good
You
on
know
you.
what?
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you have a little bit of time, I definitely want you here when we get into the Buffalo shooter, which we're going to get into in a while. If you don't mind,
Can
take
I
it
just say
away.
something about that though? Just really
Sure.
quickly. It's just as scary when you're like at an HBCU. Like
Mhm.
I'm afraid more and more, especially with like the last academic year, like last spring's spate of HBCU bomb threats.
Mhm.
It's felt scary ever since COVID, when like there was like even felt scary when Donald Trump was in office, and that had, you know yeah. So I understand what that what Leah's going through. It's
Mhm.
scary everywhere, and I
It
mean,
is.
but she's going through it a lot.
It is.
Ooh,
I mean, really, you're safe
close
nowhere. Whether
to
you're at a
home.
market, a diner, a drive-through, but especially when it's something that happens in the news media, within that week, it can make you feel. You of course, you're gonna feel like you're next. You never know where the next crazy person is gonna pop up. What are your thoughts about what happened in New York?
Um, well, I have to say that it, I think people first, they need to see the video. I hate to say that. They need to go find that Twitch video. It is shocking. I don't think I've ever seen, and I forced myself to do it because Yvette Carnell, Yvette Carnell, she works with ADOS, whatever, and she mentioned that. She said, "Look at the video," and I wasn't thinking of it. She said, "Everybody needs to see that." I looked at it, and the way he just so callously, coolly just dropped bodies, and then came back, pulled back, focused, and did kill shots on heads to make sure people were dead. It was very calculated, but it was also recognizance. And then she said something else that hit home. She said he wrote a very proficient report, cognizance report, on what happened. And then she said, "How many of your children. I have to cite her because I think she's a brilliant woman. How many of your children can't even glue like a letter to a piece of paper, let alone write a report? And it made me really think, because I'm scared. I see some of these college students today, and they're not writing reports very well. But obviously, he wrote a report, and the thing is that this report, it tells people like what kind of guns he used, like what were the pros and cons of them, where to get them, how much they cost, and what areas are like high risk or soft targets. He used words like that. He seems like, in my opinion, he seems like he is a part of a paramilitary group, and he was doing something like a reconnaissance or an intel mission. Like he was trying to find out, like, hypothetically, if we just go into black community, this is what it would take. This is how we could do it. Take up like instill fear and round people up really quick. Like, to me, that's what it seems like. Yeah. It's very calculated, very cold, and then it's formal.
Yeah.
It's formal almost. It is so there's a formal audience that he has in mind that is looking towards this report for their own education, right? That want to carry this out.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go ahead and drop you down for a second, and we'll get through the rest. Okay. If you want to call back in, that's fine. I'll drop the link a little bit later. But I don't want this to be like a 3-hour live, so I'm gonna get through the rest. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you. Alrighty, bye-bye. Alrighty. So let us get back to our scheduled program. I think that was a really enlightening conversation, although like I thoroughly disagreed with a lot, but I don't encourage y'all to think critically and independently for no reason, right? I appreciate the art of respectfully being able to disagree with somebody, right? You don't always got to like fight, lash out, and bite somebody's head off just because you don't agree with what they say. And I think that us, like as a people, as Black folk, we could definitely learn to agree to disagree a lot better. So I do appreciate that call. I know the chat had a lot of mixed feelings, but I think it was very enlightening nonetheless. And I know I could be pretty stern too. So let's move on to some more stuff. Listen, we've got a lot more of a great show in store for you. It's been an hour and 30 minutes. We are going to keep this thing moving. I'm going to hit this commercial. It's going to be a 60-second commercial. We're going to come right back. We need to talk about the baby getting caught up in some of his shenanigans again. Nick Cannon has got some music coming out. I'm trying to understand why. I'm trying to understand who signed off on this. And a couple of other things that we need to talk about in the entertainment industry before we get back into talking about the babies. Y'all know I love extending my platform to advocate for the safety and the betterment and the wellness of children. So I want to talk about all of these things. So make sure y'all hit thumbs up and we'll be right back. Dropping pancakes. Okay.
So let's see if you're really proud about it. If you've been serious about what you've been saying about wanting to support more Black-owned businesses, here's your chance. I found a spot for us to grab our hats, hoodies, affordable electronics, phone accessories, and gadgets from. It's over on edwerso.com. That's EDWERSOW.com. Grab something for your hubby, your wife. Hey, I ain't encouraging that side chick behavior, but it's just in time for the holidays. So head on over there and grab your AirPod cases, hoodies, and affordable electronics. That's edwerso.com, EDWERSOW.com. And I'll see you over there. It's time to face it, boo. Your product needs more exposure. If you want to see your ad here on my channel, be sure to shoot an email over to yt.theplainestjane@gmail.com and let's chat. But if you're new in my neighborhood here on YouTube, hey, I'm the Plainest Jane, and I provide coverage and commentary on trending stories, viral events, and Black culture. I definitely appreciate you stopping through and hitting that subscribe button if you like more of my particular brand of syrup.
And we are back, okay? That wasn't a long commercial break at all. I'm out of breath because yes, I did. Yes, I did run out the room in order to get back to the show. Make sure we had all that we needed to keep this locomotive going, okay? If you haven't already went ahead and shown the thumbs up button some love, you definitely want to make sure you do so. See, your bus driver, sometimes she a little antsy sitting in the seat. Sitting in the seat for more than an hour. What? I need some excitement. I need some excitement in my life. Let's get into the baby real quick, right? The baby was recently, the baby has so many allegations following him right now. He recently got rejected for trying to kiss another fan, okay? And she dodged him, okay? So we're going to get into this footage, okay? It's just a 10-second clip, nothing much. We're going to get into this for a second, and we're going to get right back to things that actually matter. However, sometimes I do like watching the baby get a fool made out of himself, okay?
Now baby tries to kiss fan again. Now baby tries to kiss fan again.
So the girl moved back.
Now baby tries to kiss fan again.
Okay, so the baby can't stop being toxic. I don't know why he thinks it's okay to just kiss on people that he ain't asked. Do they want to kiss you? You want my lips on you? My lips have been all around the world and do you want to have something to do with my lips? No. He never asks these questions. He just does it. And it's something that you might see the blogs running with all day tomorrow. And I do like highlighting when the baby is out of pocket and when he's wrong, especially when it comes to just throwing them lips on people who ain't asked for it. The baby, because we don't know what you got. We don't know what you got. We don't know what you don't got. We know the yellow bones is what you want. The brown bones, all the bones are for you. So listen, just start asking for a little bit of permission before you just throw these lips on people. It's too much. Okay? It's too much. Speaking of too much, right? Let's just keep the bus going. Okay? Let's talk about the government, right? The government is a trip. The government is a complete and absolute trip. Why? Because today, all right, Congress decided to discuss UFOs. For the first time in more than 50 years, they want to talk about UFOs and unidentified flying objects and so on and so forth. And it's like, look. Whenever they strategically placing aliens and UFOs in the media, we already know what time it is. They are spoon feeding us distractions. Okay? That's just the reality of the matter. I tweeted about this earlier. Shout out to everybody who follows me on Twitter. If you're not following me on Twitter, same name, The Plainest Jane, you're definitely missing out on a hoot day to day, especially if you miss some of what I got to say, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling about what's happening in the world. You definitely want to make sure you follow me on Twitter. I am a proud representative sitting on the board of Black Twitter. Okay. All of the best news actually starts on Twitter before it makes it to Instagram and all of the best blogs. Right. So I'm just tweeting this morning. I'm like, listen, they bust out this alien talk anytime they want us to look the other way while they are sneaking problematic legislation through. And let's keep it a buck. There's been too much happening in the media. Even if we were to sit legislation itself aside and bills and Roe versus Wade. And so the news cycle is too chaotic right now to become distracted with aliens or is the dress white or blue? It's just too much going on. Don't get me wrong. Okay. Aliens are cool. And I definitely believe they exist. What? To think that humans and plants and dogs and animals are the only living things in the universe, in the galaxy, you would be a fool. In my opinion, I find aliens, I ain't gonna lie, extraterrestrial life, UFOs, whatever, I find them to be very cool. And it's easy for me to fall down the rabbit hole with that, right? However, it's an escape for me. If I just feel like, listen, I just want to get away from the real world for a moment. And I think that's part of the silver lining and understanding here is sometimes I do just need to unplug and say, forget what's, especially with me being somebody that reads and consumes news and aggregates things and regurgitates a lot of information. Sometimes I need to unplug. If you can just catch a grip right? Just catch a glance of an understanding at the speed in which I speak, the pace in which my mind moves. My mind is just always hyperactive. So it's very necessary for me to unplug. However, it's when I'm trying to forget about everything else that you can fully grasp a phenomenon like extraterrestrials. This is a distraction. Right now, of all times, we got the BLM stuff happening. We got the critical race theory conversation taking place. We've got these, racially charged massacres taking place every day, every other day. You know what I'm saying? Women's rights being infringed upon. It's too chaotic, and anybody with an iota of sense within the last 4 weeks understands there's way too much going on for us to sit down and say, you know what? Aliens. Let's just stop for a second. Thinking about everything else. Let's talk about these aliens. Listen, we all should be old enough by now to understand that this is one of the government's oldest tricks. It's like stealing candy from a baby. It's easy as long as you can get them distracted with something else shiny that's around. So please stop. Stop it. I'm not interested. I watch alien documentaries. Yes, the hell I do. I find them to be cool. However, they are definitely a phenomenon. And you mean to tell me that all of a sudden y'all got people in the service trying to speak out to, and nobody tried to silence that in the media? And I'm supposed to think that everything is just A-okay? I beg your fucking pardon. They say keep your mouth shut. Army vets recount how they were told to stay quiet after spotting an alien craft in Sinai Desert as Congress holds its first hearings into UFOs in more than 50 years. So you mean to tell me that the Army vets were told to stay quiet, and all of a sudden they letting all of the blogs, they ain't silencing none of the publications and the outlets and the journalists from talking about it, and it was something that they were told to stay hush about? Now all of a sudden they allowing it? Pay attention. Pay attention to what's happening. It's one of them things where they're going to throw you a bone over here on the right so that they can do some fuck shit over here on the left because you so deep over here. Stay vigilant and keep your head on the swivel. That's all I can say. Keep your head on the swivel. If you from Baltimore, stand up. You know what the MTA say when you get on there. Stay vigilant and on alert. I said, let me be the voice on the bus, goddammit. I got me a little news voice. Stay vigilant and on alert on the bus. It's not our fault if you get your head knocked off. It's the fucking truth. It is the truth. I mean, like, how old are we now? Like, we have to know that this is a distraction. At this point, we can just replace anytime we see alien in the news media, especially very credible sources at that. We can replace alien with the word distraction because that's all it is. The government is always working. Always, always, always working to distract our asses. Okay? Every time. Let's get into Nick Cannon before we get back into the school system, right? We want to talk about this mom who decided to sue the school district for teaching her biracial son. Okay? Anti-racist curriculum. She says because of critical race theory, her son doesn't want to do his chores. I don't think that there's any school curriculum that can make your child not want to do chores. I think it's the fact that you don't have the fear of God in your kids. And not to say that, like, just get a grip over your kids. Like, the nerve of you to not have control over your child and to blame it on them being taught to be anti-racist. Because everybody should be anti-racist, right? Right? No? Okay. Yeah. Let's go ahead and get into this Nick Cannon and new music, because what is he saying? What is Nick Cannon saying behind all this? I'm like, what year are we in? Are we back in 2004? Where love don't cost a thing? Is that where we at? Because I'm not understanding.
The following video is broadcasting live, and thank you for being my studio audience. Thank you for hitting thumbs up and subscribing to my channel for more Black news, celebrity entertainment, and a splash of controversy.
So, let's go ahead and get into Nick Cannon and what was happening earlier. Like I said, if you follow me on Twitter, you've already, you're privy to quite a few of these things that we're discussing in this lineup today. All right. Nick Cannon here. And I'm like, I hope this delivers. Okay. This is my tweet from earlier today. What is this? Nick Cannon's releasing music like we back in the early 2000s. The explicit tape by Nick Cannon, titled Raw and B. What is going on, buddy? Can y'all help me understand what this is about? More importantly, let's talk about who's going to be on this album. Let's talk about that. Because I feel like it's going to be trash because it's Nick Cannon and he's corny. See, I respect Nick Cannon as a baby Steve Harvey in the sense of how many jobs he keeps as a black man who hosts on television, game shows, whatever. Nick Cannon got 1 million jobs. He's got as many jobs as he got kids. And I respect that for him as a black man in the entertainment industry and who's been there for a while and hasn't been overtaken, by drugs and just like that dark energy that exists in Hollywood. Then we got to get into Black Lives Matter in a second. However, I'm like, as soon as I hear Nick Cannon coming out with music, I'm like, oh, this is going to be trash for sure. For sure. It's going to be trash. But when I heard there's Brandy on it, K. Michelle on it, Chris Brown on it, Rick Ross on it, Hitman Holla on it, Jacquees, and 42 Duck. I'm like, okay, new music with some either really big names or really great people. Because Jacquees singing, it's not a really good voice, but it's a big name, right? And so, why is he coming out with music like this? What's up with this album cover? Who told him that this was okay? Let's look at the secondary album cover, child. He got, mind you, this is one of his old baby mamas. Okay, or current baby, however you say it. There's 10 of them. Excuse me for not getting the terminology right. But the track list combined with the name of this album called Raw and B, he's got literally 30,000 kids and counting, and he's going to name the album Raw and B. Okay, buddy. All right, buddy. We look at this track list name. That's the really concerning part. That's where we become really concerned. A Player's Prayer, Intro 1, featuring K. Michelle. I said, okay. Weekend Girl, okay. PIF interlude. What is PIF? I know PYT. Who knows? Then you got Pussy Fire, featuring 42 Doug and Genesis. You got Pussy Fire and Then I Do. Then you got Fuck Me So Incredible 1 and 2. Fuck You Better Number. You got 1 million kids. Like, what is this album here? I feel like he's trying to be the older Trey Songz or something. Lil Bro, 7 O'Clock, My Pimpin', featuring Rick Ross. Got Hoes. Well, we know you got hoes because you got 10 baby mamas and 10 kids. Nobody Else, featuring Jacquees and Ty Dolla $ign. The Provider. Okay. But can you provide presence in all 10 of them kids' life with the 10 different baby mamas? That's the question. And then Faithful, featuring Brandy. You know him? Listen, let me tell y'all something. I don't know how this is going to be. I'm fully prepared to clown him. Yes, I am. I'm fully prepared to clown him. Him and Kiki Wyatt are to blame for the formula shortage. Who has more kids than them? Raw and B. I know we just got finished talking about, like, Young Thug, and stop talking about what you do in the streets in your music. Stop talking about what you do in the sheets to make all these. We don't need more people. Nick Cannon, I hope it's great, because let me tell you, I am going to be right back here to clown it. I don't feel like you are good at music, Gigolo. I don't feel like you're good at music. And I want to clown it. This ain't even an album. This is a mixtape. I want to clown it. How can I clown something that's got Brandy and them on there? Brandy and K. Michelle, I value them. Brandy more than anybody, right? If the most talented person out of all these features are Brandy. So how am I to clown something that's got Brandy? I feel like Brandy wouldn't have grazed it unless it was great. But Nick, I'm ready to clown you. We also, we have this era right now. If you notice, music is being made. They're including actors and actresses on there. Kendrick Lamar had Taylor Page from Hit the Floor, who was a black actress. Pretty V is on here. She's a social media influencer. A lot of you might recognize her from being alongside B. Simone. Tiffany Haddish was just recently pulled onto a track with not R. Kelly, Lil Wayne. Why did I get those mixed up? Lil Wayne just recently pulled Tiffany Haddish onto a track as well. So there's something going on where they are bringing acting talent, whether it be big screen acting, Instagram acting, IG comedian, whatever you want to call it. They're bringing them into the music. And listen, I say more power to you, because whether you do an interlude, a couple of words, whether y'all are having some sort of argument on the track, that's what the Kendrick Lamar and Taylor Page thing was. Get your money, because there's still a lot of credits and rights to be given there. Look, Nick Cannon, I hope this delivers. That's all I can say. I say all this to say, I hope that this delivers, because, baby, when I heard you was coming out with music, you had me questioning what year we were in. Who told you could come out with music? I'm going to question you just like I questioned Jocelyn. Who the hell gave you keys to the studio? Who gave you keys to the studio? I just want to know. Nonetheless, let's get into our next topic of the evening. We are going through a more serious neighborhood, okay? This bus ride is all about balance. Let's get into the mom who decided to sue the school district because she feels like her biracial son is being brainwashed by the color race theory curriculum. I think that this is important to talk about. I'll talk about my thoughts about it in a second, but let's go ahead and get into this. Okay. This story comes out of Virginia. This is a white mom who says that her son won't even do chores. Her biracial son will not do chores because he is being taught critical race theory in school. So what she's saying is that the new anti-racist curriculum launched at the middle school last spring in itself, she says it is racist because it indoctrinates students and teachers in a racial essentialist worldview that emphasizes racial conflict and treats students differently based on their skin color. She said the school has changed her son in ways that she does not approve of. And filling his head, right, with racial awareness lessons that emphasize oppression and privilege, she's just not with it. She says her son now sees himself as different from his mostly white classmates. Her son now sees himself as a young Black man who will have more struggles in life because of his race and because of the systematic racism that that is an endemic in American life, right? So she says he's changing. And if things don't go his way or if things seem unfair, he will now claim that it's racism. She says he never did that before. And he now identifies as a Black man because that's how the school told him he looks, and that's who he is. Y'all, yes, the mom is white. The mom is white, the dad is Black. So it is the mom that is filing this lawsuit against the school district in its entirety. I feel like I don't even have to wait until after I say what I think and give my opinion on this to go to the bush and weep. So let's just go to the bush now and then we'll talk. This is out of pocket.
It was gone.
Let me just go in the bush and weep. Let me just go in the bush and weep. I just have to go in the bush and weep. Really. I don't understand. I swear to God, I don't understand.
This is beyond out of pocket. And this is how I feel about it. I feel like this is a mix between a crock of bull and also what she gets. Because sometimes fetishizing Black men it seems so fun, right? When you're not Black and you're fetishizing Black men or just Black people in general, it seems so fun, lucrative, the thing to do. But then when you're stuck with the residual effects of it and you don't know how to handle it, you out here victimizing yourself. No, baby, you willingly decided to lay down with someone who was Black. You wanted that BBC. Well, you know, you got it. And ultimately, why is the first time that your child is being introduced to the fundamental aspect of critical race theory, why haven't you been teaching your son about racial injustices prior to school? This isn't something that just works at school and you don't have to do any work at home. It's no different than the reproductive system, whether it be for male or female. Just because they go to school and the teacher will give them a brief overview of, let's just say, a young girl in elementary or middle school, just because the teacher, you know, the school says, okay, we're going to teach them with a pad and a tampon or whatever it is, doesn't mean that you don't still have work to do as a parent to teach them how these things work, how they operate, how to live with them, how to manage them, so on and so forth. And I'm sorry to get a little TMI for the men who may be here, but, you know, I'm just saying, don't leave it up to the school to teach, especially if you've got a biracial child. This is a child that should be knowing about both sides of their families and how complex they are and how different they are and how you may be treated according to either side of that coin. And you can't control the way society is going to see you as a biracial person. If somebody you comes across wants to decide to see you as Black, then they're going to see you as Black and they're going to see a nigga in a coat. If they decide to see you as racially ambiguous or as someone that is not attached to their Black side or doesn't have a close proximity to Blackness, then they're going to see. And you don't have a choice when it comes to how society is going to see you. Is it right? No. But you should be implementing that situational awareness into your child instead of leaving it up to the school. How is it now that he's just learning the difference between what white privilege is and what Black oppression is, what the two different sides of the coin is as it pertains to him? And he's both sides of the coin. Why was that his first introduction to it? So you decided to lay down with a Black man and not teach your son about the side of him that's Black? That seems really interesting. A biracial child would 100% need this type of teaching. And I think that this story alone, it is a wanky ass story that is being weaponized to keep critical race theory out of schools. That's how I feel about it.
All right, so Melissa, your son is the father's Black, you're white, and he'd never mentioned issues with race before, you're saying. What exactly changed?
Right, we didn't have issues before. He's in 8th grade. They introduced this critical program, and now he's having racial issues that was not there before.
What kind of racial issues is he having?
Well, he's seen himself just as a Black man. He's seen things that don't go his way as racism, and he's finding safety in numbers now.
So when you're saying he gets a bad grade at school, he blames racism, or a girl rejects him on a date, racism, are those the kind of things you're seeing?
Yes, I ask him to clean the house, racism, yes.
You're kidding, right? Or are you serious?
No, I'm serious. They have totally changed his perspective. They have put him in a box.
Your son's father, who's African American, how does he feel about all this?
I'm a single mom.
Okay.
Rolex on your wrist, a plain giant.
She's a single mom. Keep in mind, she is a single mom. Okay. Listen, here's what I feel like. I feel like she sounds like she needs to be taking a class as well. She needs to understand critical. And if she's willfully ignorant, then she is. And this is why I feel like providing people like this the excuse, right? As you know, we were having that that debate earlier with our caller, this is why I feel like it can be so dangerous, extremely dangerous, to give people who attempt to oppress Black people the excuse, people with a racist agenda and habits, to give them the excuse of they don't know any better, because there is a such thing as willful ignorance. People want to remain ignorant. People don't want to hear any of your opposing thoughts, and they'll say anything to deflect so that they can continue to be willfully ignorant. This woman fully knows what it is, but it don't mean that she couldn't use a class like this. It sounds like she needs to be taking a class, and it sounds like she needs to be doing more than tolerate. See, because you can put a person like her in a classroom, right, or in a room, and try and engrave these things into her mind. But it doesn't mean that she's going to be absorbing it. It means that she's really just going to be tolerating the class, the teachings. But for her to say, because she said, my son is beautiful and he's Hawaiian, but the school sees my son as Black, and now he identifies as Black. And she has a problem with that. She has a problem with the fact that she feels like her son is Hawaiian and or biracial. She doesn't like her son identifying as Black, right? And you know what? That's subjective. That's up to him, right? I know how I feel about biracial folk just saying that they're Black, and I feel like it depends on your experience. It depends on if you're going to turn around and use the half of you that is not Black to code switch and shit on full Blacks or the full race. It really just depends on your behavior, right? And that's a whole nother conversation for another day. And we've had these discussions on the show before. But I feel like boo-hoo, Karen. Boo-hoo, because this is definitely Karen to the 18th exponent, right? The rest of society will more than likely see your son as Black. And there's nothing that you can do about that. Whether he's half Black, quarter Black, it doesn't, nobody's going to sit and say, you know what, he's Hawaiian, he's not Black. So there may be some discrimination that comes into play. There may be a different set of etiquette skill that you may want to implement and ingrain in him while he's younger, so that he can understand when he starts driving, when he gets his permit and or license. Black people can't talk to the cops and engage with police and law enforcement the way that non-Black people do. We're afraid we're going to die because of how we're viewed and how we're seen. And it's not time to play with every person that is about to label you a certain way. It's not time to play semantics with them and say, listen, I'm not Black. They're not going to care. Those words are not going to matter. Their prejudice, their bias is going to run deeper than anything you could ever say. Negotiating with terrorists is 9 times out of 10 is never the answer. And when we're talking about people who are oppressing Black folk and keeping Black people away from resources that they need to be better, and freedom is a resource, right? That's an issue. And so you should have been teaching this to your kid way before the school ever did. And now that you're saying, oh, they've introduced this to my kid, he wants, you have a biracial child. Why is it a surprise to you that suddenly he wants to identify with one side more than the other? You should have known that. If I let my cat outside right now and my cat has sex with a dog, I'm just saying, right? I have to accept the fact that the cat might want to identify more as a cat or a dog. He could land in the middle, but I have to understand if that thing want to get up and act like a dog tomorrow or in general, that's what he's going to do. When you mix with two things, you going to identify with one side more than the other. You've got to prepare for that. So why weren't you thinking about that when you were taking that big Black cock? Why weren't you thinking about that? You're upset that the school introduced a little bit of reality, and now he's fucking trolling you as a means to not do his chores, and you're blaming it on the school's curriculum? He's trolling you, and you're going to open up a lawsuit. Why? You know why? Because you are weaponizing. You're literally weaponizing critical race theory, right? And your circumstance and your apprehension to want your son to be exposed to that. You're weaponizing that as an excuse to shoot down critical race theory in hopes that other Karens will join you. so that they can shoot it down. Girl, get the fuck out of here. If I was doing this show early around 7, 8, 9 o'clock, I probably wouldn't have this energy to say, girl, get the fuck out. But it's late. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I don't even have the energy for your fuck shit. Get the fuck out of here, Karen. It's the caucasity for me. I've got to get Tyra Banks on you. We went to the bush. Now I got to get Tyra and have her yell at you a little bit like somebody's mama.
But you're not. Stop it! I have never in my life yelled at a girl like this. When my mother yells at this, it's because she loves me. I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you? Learn something from this. You go to bed at night, you lay there, and you take responsibility for yourself.
It's irresponsible as a person, right? As a parent who was raising somebody who is biracial. Why wouldn't you want to teach your kid to make sure that they learn the plight and oppression of one side of the family while also understanding the privilege and the unfair advantages of the other? Why wouldn't you? That's your job as a parent, to help them understand how society may treat you, how they may not give, and survival skills. And if the kid has an ounce of black in them, you definitely need to be teaching them survival skills. But see, you're so entitled, Karen, that you feel like, oh, well, there's some white in him. I shouldn't have to teach him about the black plight. Okay. Wait till he get into shit and see how the world treats him. And then you'll realize how important it is to have these conversations with him. You are sick. Let me move on. Society won't look at your biracial child and see them as two things combined. They're just going to look and pick what's easiest and what's clearly available. And she admitted, as she spoke to the press and the media today, she admitted that, yeah, my son's a little darker, but he's Hawaiian. Girl, ain't nobody looking at nobody saying that they Hawaiian. If you ain't got the motherfucking grass skirt on and you getting your dance on your Lilo and Stitch shit, ain't nobody fucking calling nobody Hawaiian. That's the reality of it. But girl, you ain't grounded in reality. You grounded in privilege. You're grounded in the fetishization of black men. God bless your child. Not you. God bless your child being raised by somebody who's willing to put their blinders on and be willfully ignorant like you. God bless your child, because that's really all that matters. The defendants in this case, because she's literally suing the school district for teaching critical race theory or anti-racist teachings, right? Her and her son are the defendants in this case. The good news here is that the lawsuit has been dismissed. The lawsuit was dismissed last month, and it was actually dismissed by a circuit court judge who seemed to find the district's policy unobjectionable and declared that there is nothing inherently evil or wrong about the students being taught anti-racist rhetoric and or critical race theory. So look, she already lost. Now look, she does plan to appeal. Hopefully that goes nowhere as well. But she's already lost. Shout out to Atmos Love Zone for being in the building. I appreciate you for coming through. This makes a really good segue. Actual Hawaiians are rare. They really aren't claiming them. I absolutely agree with that. I agree. Speaking of school system and young children, let's get into some Black history real quick.
It's time to face it, boo. Your product needs more exposure. If you want to see your ad here on my channel, be sure to shoot an email over to yt.theplainestjane@gmail.com and let's chat. But if you're new in my neighborhood here on YouTube, hey, I'm the Plainest Jane, and I provide coverage and commentary on trending stories, viral events, and Black culture. I definitely appreciate you stopping through and hitting that subscribe button if you'd like more of my particular brand of syrup.
All right, so we are back. Listen, it is our constant duty, okay, as Black people to combat the whitewashing, right, and the lies of history. And so I'm really infatuated with Black history, and I wanted to implement a way to talk about that on a semi-daily basis here on the channel. So within this series, right, we have woven in the opportunity for me to talk about Black history. So I want to talk about the school system, but first I wanted to start with speaking about this 13-year-old Black girl. When we think about the national anthem, when we think about the American flag, right, which a lot of us may despise, right? Respectfully, as Black folk, we definitely understand why. I wanted to talk about the reasoning behind, like, who really influenced that. And I found this to be a really interesting piece of information that I was able to research further as well. This woman, her name, young woman, she was 13 at the time, actually. Her name is Grace Wisher. She was an enslaved Black girl, and at just 13 years old, she helped create the American flag, which inspired the national anthem. She's often overlooked in the storytelling of the nation's most prominent visual emblem. And I think that this is really important to just sit and pause and take a second to soak in. Okay, she's responsible for creating the American flag. And although this piece of history says she's often overlooked in the storytelling of the nation's most prominent visual emblem, I would counter that and say she's not overlooked. Not at all. She's completely omitted. They keep her out of the storytelling of how the flag came about. She is omitted completely when we talk about the prestigious cloth, right? And that's in air quotes, the prestigious cloth that influenced something as serious as the national anthem, something that means a lot to America, and especially white supremacist America, but also something that is so monetarily beneficial. She was able to contribute. She created that. So when we talk about Black people building America, most of the stuff that we are able to witness in this country came from us, was created for or by us. We mean that. And this is a piece of history that is forgotten. And I think it's important to just pause at these moments of history and remember, so that every time you see a flag, you can remember who is responsible for creating this. You might be in the car with your kids, your nieces, or your nephew. You might see a flag outside of the IHOP, the Denny's, wherever you're going. And you might just remember, listen, a Black woman made this, and tell your kid so that they can really understand the power that we have, the creativity that we have. There's another piece of Black history about the woman responsible for making the Haitian flag, who was also Black. So we'll see if I get too tired, because I had that a little bit later in my itinerary of things that we're going to talk about this evening. But that is something that was very important. And I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about this. Because when you come across it, whether it has a date, I am firm on wanting to talk about Black history. And I'm very moved by on this day in Black history. So every day I wake up, I try to see, like, what's going on this day in Black history? What's today's date? What happened? But all pieces of history don't have a date attached. We don't have a date attached to Grace Wisher and her and what she was able to infuse into Black history. We don't have a date, but goddamn it still deserves and needs to be spoken about. And so I wanted to take that moment to really pause and let this sink into you. The next time you see an American flag, goddamn it, you may hate it based on what America has done to us, but just remember who made it. And tell that story to whoever the hell is around you that is of color, so that they understand how much we are responsible for in this country that hates us so much, but how much we built it. So that's a little bit of Black history that I wanted to give you all. But also, when we talk about on this day in Black history, listen, it's 2:18 in the morning,
But the day that I was getting this show together was yesterday. It was just 2 hours ago, guys. But it was May the 17th. And this is a day where in 1954, right? May 17th, on this day in Black history, as I'm so fond of, Brown versus the Board of Education, there was a verdict in that case. And it's a really important case for a number of different reasons. A lot of you may already be familiar. You should be familiar with Brown versus Board of Education. And what a case like that does, and when things like that happen in history, it helps to dismantle the separate but equal theory. The separate but equal theory was something that was prominent back around the, apartheid and the Jim Crow era, right? When segregation was still a thing. It was always separate, but we equal. Y'all Black people get these restaurants and these movies, and the white people get these. But, as it pertains to young children and education, it's not the same. And there's a lot of discrimination, and we know that takes place when it comes to separate but equal. Don't get me wrong. I know a lot of people feel like we need to go back to segregation just so that Black folk can have more peace, but that's a whole nother conversation. But this was an infamous case. Brown versus Board of Education. This was a case where the Supreme Court ruled unanimously that racial segregation in public schools violated the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. The 1954 decision declared that separate educational facilities for white and African American students were inherently unequal. And this case is very important because it helped convince the court that even when physical facilities and other tangible factors were equal, segregation still deprived minority children of equal educational opportunities. And that's just a little tidbit of Black history for this day. May 17th, 2022. This happened on May 17th, 1954. So y'all know I like sprinkling Black history through. I don't mind sitting and cutting up and talking about the celebrities and laughing and joking, but I don't mind sitting the celebrities on the back burner to talk about things that really affect us and reminding us about what Black history really is. And Black history really is not always in the past. Sometimes it's happening in the present. But when we talk about how the flag was created, Brown versus Board of Education, we talk about how imperative our children are. We're talking about the school system. We're talking about the 13-year-old who literally created the banner, the flag that is representing this country for years. This is something that a 13-year-old did back when slavery was still a thing. The country is still using it because that type of swag, the flavor that she put on the flag, is so timeless that they haven't upgraded it. They haven't changed it. At most, it went from 13 stars to 50 stars only based on the states. They're still using what a slave made, although we're so less than, according to how they treated us then and how they were so less than, but they need us for how innovative we are. And I just love reminding myself and others of things like this because it is our duty. It's not our duty to understand why white people treat us the way they, why non-Black people decide that they want to oppress us and treat us crazy. It is not our job to do that type of mental gymnastics. However, it is our duty as Black people to combat the whitewashing and the lies of history. And some of the best ways to dismantle the whitewashing of what we've done as a people and the lies in history is by knowing our history. The next time you glance at a flag, you better remember that a Black woman, a 13-year-old teenage slave, made that thing. And hopefully you'll feel a little proud about that. We got flavor like there's no tomorrow, goddammit. The Kardashians ain't choose us to steal from for no reason. I ain't saying it's good or it makes it right, but I'm saying, goddammit, they steal our flavor, our vernacular, our style, the way we talk, the way we look, our lip fillers, our bodies, everything. I mean, like, we are just the ultimate, clearly. Clearly. Are we not? Are we not? Let's move on, child. 2 hours and 18 minutes. We are finally into talking about Black Lives Matter. Next time I open the phone lines, I'm going to open the phone lines a little bit later in the show so that we can make sure we hit all our topics in a timely fashion. Okay. Now let's talk about these Black Lives Matter funds and where they really went. Woo, child. This might be the part that you're waiting for in particular. Okay. Let's talk about this, okay? We're going to take a look at an exclusive article via the Associated Press as Black Lives Matter attempted to pull a transparency move by forking over, tax documents to prove that the money trail isn't as dirty and convoluted as we think it is. So that's what we are going to be taking a look at right now. I want to get into my thoughts. I want to let you see this headline here, okay? And then I'm going to get into my thoughts just so you can let the headline sink in. A lot of you may know people have a lot to say about Black Lives Matter, okay? You can see they have $42 million in assets. And when we talk about Black Lives Matter, the first thing we think is like this is something that pulled at our emotional heartstrings, right? Got over on us. We've got Patrisse Cullors over here buying a $6 million mansion. What did she do with the millions of dollars of donations that people so, emotionally donated to her? Like, what's really going on? And a lot of us are furious about this. What I can tell you is this. You can read this article on your own if you like. It is a very long article. I mean, it is a long article. I mean, if any Baltimore Stand Up, right? If you ever read the Baltimore Sun, the Baltimore Sun, all of their articles are like 7,000 characters or more. Like, they are long. It's long, and it can encourage you to not read it, but I read the whole thing today, and I just want to make it simple for you, right? I want you to see the headline, but I want to make it simple for you because I was tweeting about it earlier today, right? This was an article that was written that was an attempt to absolve Patrisse and others of how they misallocated these funds. If you follow me on Twitter, you've already seen this, okay? And this is the most basic breakdown that I can give about the heap of information that they provided to us at one time, okay? So this is a transparency move that the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation Incorporated provided by forking over their full 63-page Form 990 IRS document. And for some reason, I expected better from the Associated Press because they are a very well-respected platform with a load of journalistic integrity. And I'm talking a lot, okay? So here's a screenshot, right? It says, for all the questions raised about Black Lives Matter oversight, the foundation's tax filing shows its stewards haven't squandered donations. Instead, it granted tens of millions of dollars to Black Lives Matter chapters, Black-led grassroots organizations, and families of police brutality victims whose names rallied the larger movement. Right? So a statement like this is kind of like, listen, the money went to Black-led grassroots organizations, families of police brutality, all this stuff. And I really want to talk about what this really means, right? We get into this one, right? Because what happened was she gave her baby daddy a lot of money. A lot of money. This is an organization that paid company owned, right? A company owned by Damon Turner, who is basically Patrisse Cullors' baby daddy, almost $1 million, $970,000 to help produce live events and creative services. That's what this says right here. That's what it says, right? Next, we have a screenshot that says Bowers, who has previously served as deputy executive director, is founder and president of a firm that received the lion's share of money spent on consultants in the last fiscal year. Bowers Consulting provided much of the foundation's operational support, including staffing and fundraising and other key services, and was paid more than $2.1 million, according to the tax filing. Now we have another screenshot, right? And these are screenshots that I took because these are the main pieces. Again, that article is so lengthy, you can just get lost and get discouraged and say, F it. Now we see the foundation paid more than $840,000 to Cullors Protection LLC. Mind you, this is Patrisse's own company herself. So the foundation paid her more than $840,000 to her own company, which is a security firm run by Paul Cullors, who is Patrisse's brother, according to the tax filing. They say because the Black Lives Matter movement is known for protesting law enforcement organizations, the foundation felt its protection could not be entrusted to former police professionals who typically run security firms. Okay? So they kept all of this money, a lot of this money, in the family. Says the filing shows that Cullors reimbursed the organization $73,500 for a charter flight for foundation-related travel, which the organization says she took in 2021 out of concern for Rona and security threats. She also paid the foundation $390 over her uses of the Studio City property for 2 private events. During the last year, she was the foundation's board's sole voting director and held no board meetings, according to the filing. So listen, a lot of this money went to the family, okay? It went to the family. And it's her literally giving her baby daddy almost $1 million. And then also apparently he has some sort of a rap career as well. Listen, here's the main problem with this. Here's the main problem. It's not that it's not happening at other companies and in other businesses. And I see a lot of these comments going around, and nobody's about to sit and debate and say other companies don't do this. It's only her. Yeah, other companies, other entities do this. Absolutely. Absolutely. The main issue is that nothing was allocated to helping the community. Out of the whole article, I'm looking for stuff that's, communities, school programs, etc. Nothing's there. Nothing's there. There was a lot of word salad and semantics all up and through the article, and it was. And so I think the main issue that a lot of people have with Patrisse and others who have misallocated the funds is, listen, y'all have used this money as a personal piggy bank while not a single dime was given to the families of the victims of police brutality. Y'all kept all this money in the family, from the brother to the baby daddy to this y'all all, opened these businesses to say, listen, you say you provide this service. You say y'all provide this service. All that money, what were you giving to the dead folks who names y'all was benefiting off of? What were you giving? And I know a lot of people are cheering on Candace Owens for pulling up to her house and making her squeal. And initially my thought was, shit, if we gonna get the truth, we gonna get the truth out of her. She needs to admit what she's done. She needs to acknowledge that it's wrong. And she wasn't talking before Candace pulled up. So in my mind, I'm like, shit. However, I feel like there can still be a code while we hold our fellow Black folk accountable. We don't have to attack her, but accountability is not an attack, and with the right tactic, right? Holding her accountable doesn't mean that we're being mean and nasty. I've seen some people saying today, I still don't want to say anything in public because other people are attacking her and we need to be on code. And I'm like, denial behavior like that leaves room for her to be in denial, and that type of denial fuels the audacity. Not a dime was given to the families of the victims of police brutality, and they have a nerve to say their names, but have done nothing for those names that they were chanting. What have you done for them and those families? Some of those families are still struggling. The mothers of these victims are still struggling. Some of them don't even have enough money for headstones for their babies' graves. But these people who commit these acts and the folks who also want to make it, oh, other businesses do it. Okay, and these other races ain't targeted the way we're not talking about companies arguing about a manager at a fast food restaurant taking home 50 napkins a day. We're not talking about petty theft. We're talking about using dead victims' names for monetary gain. What was supposed to be a nonprofit organization. Using dead victims who are targeted by white supremacy in the system and using them in order to benefit, and then hoarding the wealth that you got off of the backs of the slain victims that you claimed you created this foundation to support and their families. That is that type of thievery that we're talking about. And it's harmful to our community. How dare you say that we shouldn't address this because we're Black, and you see white corporations getting away with this? Should Red Cross be next? Yup. Red Cross should be next to answer questions about what they do with all the goddamn money, and we can't see what's going on. They should be next. However, what we look like pulling up on others and trying to hold them accountable without holding our own backyard accountable first. And like I'm saying, nobody's saying pull up to Patrisse's DMs and send her death threats and all types of crazy stuff. Accountability is not an attack, especially when it's done with tact. So strategically and with care, right? Because it's a difference between just hurling all types of obscenities and bullshit at somebody and actually providing criticism that's going to help them grow and holding them accountable. There is a difference. And you have to also keep in mind when somebody's receiving a shitload of backlash like that, you understand that they are receiving more hate than criticism. So for you to think that your words are going to get through when they're full of venom, when they're already receiving a lot of venom, and you can gauge that by reading the room, you've got to change your delivery a little bit. To come at them, to think that they're not going to shut down. You got to think, if you're a person going through any sort of crisis and you get a lot of venom, at some point you're going to shut down. You're not going to leave yourself open and available to receive all the venom that's being spewed at you. You're going to shut down and stop being responsive, as opposed to people actually being critical and constructing criticism for you that is palatable, that is not disrespectful, that you are able to receive in a way where you can see, okay, this is a value for me. It's going to help me grow. It's going to help me progress. Maybe I should take this in, as opposed to, bitch, why you do all that with that? Who you think just going to sit there and take that in and really change because you calling them out their name and all crazy? So sometimes it's a matter of reading the room, but who's to say just because they're Black, we're not supposed to hold her accountable because we can see that other corporations do this too? Okay, if that's the case, every business is corrupt and we shouldn't hold any sort of corruption, any culprit when it comes to company corruption. We shouldn't hold any of their feet to the fire. If that's the stupid ass where we gonna go with other businesses. What was people always killing, robbing, and raping too? Does that make it excusable for everybody else? White companies, other companies be doing this. Why we gotta? Wrong is wrong. Stop it. You're talking about people who are have kids who have been snatched away from them based off of police brutality and so on and so forth, who are still struggling, and their name and their kid's name. Now, I want to hear people who are saying, let her get away with it. Let it be your kid that was snatched away. Let you have been Breonna Taylor or Tamir Rice's mother, and let her have been using your baby's name day in and day out. And you see her buying $6 million houses and collecting $94,000 worth of donations and so on and so forth. Then I want to see you tell the general public to just let it go. I bet you won't. I really do. I bet you won't. It's easy to say when you want to outside looking in, but consider the victims at one point. We shouldn't need another racial uprising. We shouldn't need another new black person being shot in that car to be heavily publicized for us to understand the intensity of what these broken families and homes are going through. And it shouldn't just be because Breonna Taylor was 2 years ago and Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, and so on and so forth. It shouldn't just be because, oh, that was years ago, that they don't still need that support. BLM leaders deserve that criticism. They're not, yeah. And I mean, seeing her cry on Instagram, it was like, okay. She hasn't struggled nearly as much, in my opinion, as the families that of the children's names that she's benefited from. So I just I hope she can learn. Watched her full interview with Jason Lee on Hollywood Unlocked via Fox Soul, and I was just like, I was taken aback. That's all I'll say without throwing too much of my opinion in it, is watching Jason Lee sit there and talk to Patrisse. It took me aback for sure at the way that everything was framed in that interview. And I'll just leave it at that. But listen, what I will say is Judge Joe Brown, he definitely tried to tell us. He tried to tell all of us. And as a collective, what were we? We were emotional, right? And we were in denial. Now, I never donated a dime. I'm talking about the collective. I never donated anything to Black Lives Matter. I feel like there were things that all of us could have been doing in our individual lives to make some sort of tangible change outside of donating funds. But I can say, at that time, it was so lucrative. She made so much money because everyone was emotional at that time. And it wasn't just Black Lives Matter who was able to gain some monetary benefit and capitalize off of the peak of emotions at that time. A lot of the businesses did. You know what I mean? A lot of the businesses hashtag Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean? Like anytime there's a plight, you're going to have businesses that want to prove that they are inclusive, right? But we know it's just for optics' sake, just so that they can seem hip and understand it, diversified, so on and so forth. But honestly, I think that the moral of the story is don't turn your currency, right? Don't turn your currency, and your currency isn't just money. It could be energy too. Don't turn it over to someone else to make a change. Don't give your money with your emotions. And that's what a lot of people did when they donated to Black Lives Matter. They were upset at the racial uprising in the state of America at that time. Everyone that donated could have done something that didn't involve money to make a difference. and what Patrisse and the other folks who misallocated those funds within Black Lives Matter, they changed their situation off of people's emotions. And that's wrong to some. It's wrong to a lot of people, actually, but it's right to Patrisse and others by way of perspective. And this is what basically influenced, a million different things subconsciously. So it's a paradox. We're the placebo. But like I said, there are several people who also feel like, I don't see white people shaming the Red Cross and nonprofits for doing the same thing. This is ridiculous. Why is it so easy for them to turn us against one another? I'm not saying it's right, but this investigation is criminal. How is the investigation criminal? It seems more like what she did was criminal than the investigation. And again, we can hold her accountable without any venom, right? But sometimes people match your energy, and she had a little bit of venom for some of the victims' moms of the names that she used. If you remember the whole spat between her and Tamir Rice's mom, accountability is not an attack. It's not an attack. It's not an attack. It's not an attack, right? Your delivery can diminish your message and get in the way and blur the lines sometimes, but for people to act like folks are wrong for wanting answers or holding her accountable, it's just not. It's just not given. It's not given. It's not given. Listen, this is a really interesting conversation. I implore you to read the entire Associated Press article for yourself. If you're curious to see all of the different dollar signs, I presented a great amount of different information for you, with a lot of screenshots. I brought a lot of receipts, like I always do. I come with the syrup, I come with the receipts, I come with the information. So I implore you, the Associated Press, this is something that is exclusive to them. You won't see this on other websites. And if you do, they would have to credit the Associated Press, because the Associated Press are the only people who are able to quote these numbers, because they are the only people that the Black Lives Matter Foundation felt comfortable enough to hand their tax documentation off onto. So what I would say is, if you're going to try to research these numbers, only go by the Associated Press. Don't go by any person that's trying to steal their information and just place the numbers. Go to the Associated Press. I was surprised at how the Associated Press, they were basically trying to absolve and make it seem like they didn't waste money or misallocate or misspend the funds. They simply donated to Black chapters and grassroots organizations and victims. But you show me that, though. You haven't shown me that. That's not what I've seen in your entire article. What you show me is that she kept all that money in the family, like All in the Family with Archie Bunker. Okay. So that is where those funds went. We have discussed so much today. There were two more things that I wanted to get into this evening. However, it is 2:45. Okay. It is 2:45 in the morning. And I do have to be to work sometime between 8 and 9 a.m. So I'm going to get ready to go. I am going to give you all a sticky note. Okay. You know, the sticky notes, they are my thing. Okay. So my final thoughts and unanswered questions, child. I left a lot of final thoughts and unanswered questions all throughout this thing. I really don't have any unanswered questions. Because most of my unanswered questions, they're mainly rhetorical. Okay. We talk about critical race theory. We talk about not leaving leeway for white supremacy and white supremacists actually to say, I don't know. I don't know what my why is. I know that I'm oppressing you all, but I don't know what. Like, I'm not leaving room for that. You know what? An unanswered question is, why is Nick Cannon coming out with music? Why is the baby still trying to kiss on people that don't want to be kissed? Why does the government think that we're stupid enough to fall for alien bullcrap? But you know what? I know why, because I see a lot of people actually falling down that rabbit hole today. Like, oh my God, the government's ready to talk about aliens. Like, shut the fuck. First of all, Obama promised us alien talk years ago, but that's a whole nother conversation. Look, I am going to go ahead and get into this sticky note, and then I'm gonna let y'all go. I'm gonna talk to y'all tomorrow. Hopefully this video does well. Okay. Hopefully y'all don't have an issue with the playback tomorrow. All right. Some of y'all are getting ready for work. Hopefully y'all don't have an issue with tomorrow. And for the people who noticed how it seems like YouTube is kind of fucking with me a little bit, listen, I appreciate y'all for caring. I try to keep it out of my mind so that I don't become like sad or affected by it, or want to upload less or go live less, because I feel like YouTube is fucking with me. But I feel like because I am choosing to talk about more controversial, more polarizing topics when it pertains to the LGBT community agenda, when it comes to the racial uprising and just color issues in America, I do feel a little bit more targeted recently. So all of your support, especially if you're going to hit thumbs up. If you haven't hit thumbs up already, you definitely need to do so. Otherwise, you know, I could punch two-piece you in the throat real quick. Make sure you hit thumbs up. Let me hit this commercial, come back with a sticky note, and then we're going to go, because I'm getting sleepy. I'm getting a little bit loopy right now. Throw up them pancake emojis. If you're already a channel member, make sure you use your special emojis. I'm getting ready to play the commercial that just pays a little bit of homage to the channel members. If you're not a channel member, just throw up some pancakes and or your final thoughts about today's show. Okay.
The plainest Jane. This is one of my favorite comments here. She says, I loves me some black, and she said, loves me some black news. She says, is it just me, or does anyone else get tired of seeing people that don't look like them delivering info about them day in and day out?
So wait a minute, you ain't joined the channel yet so that you can access special perks over here with the plainest Jane?
Rolex on your wrist, a plain Jane.
Ooh, watch this. Hey, I'm the plainest Jane. I'm a cultural commentator and informant, and I provide sticky coverage on trending stories, Black news, Black culture, and everyday topics with a sticky, abstract perspective. So get familiar with the perks. I've carefully curated all of these things, and it's just a little exclusive glaze to amplify the way that you express yourself. So get comfortable, get used to our official emoji over here. That is the pancake stack, because it's always sticky in Hollywood and in real life, and especially when you spend the time over here with the plainest Jane. Like I said, I hope you enjoy the exclusive glaze that I've provided for you to amplify the way you express yourself, and I hope you enjoy the digital vibe. Hey, listen, I always want you to keep it sticky, but be sure to think critically and independently, regardless of what you hear from me or anybody else. But most importantly, I hope that you're feeling all right, and hopefully you've had some time to tackle some of your invisible problems. I know I got a couple of new subscribers, and I just want to say thank y'all. I really do appreciate you. And if you're not quite feeling all right, this channel right here, once you join, it's going to help you kick back and decompress always, but it'll also keep you in the know with what's happening with the best Black news, celebrity entertainment, and a splash of controversy. So again, get comfortable. The first drink is on me, all right? Act like you got some sense, and I'll see you around. But don't forget to keep it sticky 24/7 by following me on Instagram, but hit that notification bell so that you always know when I upload and you get your dose of syrup first. Now, with all that stickiness being said, the most important thing I want you to remember about this neck of the woods and the plainest Jane is Black Lives Matter. And if you don't agree,
buy pumpkin. That would take you out. I don't play that shit.
Now you gotta go for real.
It's just that simple. Hey, look, whether you join or not, I do want you to stay beautiful, Black, and blessed. And just know I appreciate your support. I'm your girl, the plainest Jane. And let's see what's happening in these virtual streets. You ready? All right now. This could be a crazy ride. I'm warning you now.
And we're back. Thank you all so much for hanging in there, okay? Just about everybody hung on. Lord have mercy, it's 3 a.m. Just about everybody hung on despite the commercial. So thank you all so much. I want to get into the sticky note of the day and then go ahead and end this thing. I did not want this to be 3 hours long. Oh my gosh. But this comment means a lot. It says, "This is my second time live in a show, and the information I learned was mind-blowing. Thanks, Jane. Sending love from London." Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for letting me know that I've got viewers outside of the country, okay? I'm a Baltimore girl, okay? Born and raised, still here. So thank you so much for letting me know that I've got viewers all over the place. Look, before I get into the sticky note, be sure to tag me in all your favorite trending topics on Instagram and on Twitter. Follow me those places. You know I am on Twitter more than I'm on Instagram, although I'm on Instagram from time to time. But Twitter is really where I be, okay? So be sure to tag me and follow me with regards to all of your trending topics and in those places. For those of you who don't know, the sticky note is a motivational quote that I craft personally myself. And it is something that I am using at the moment, at the time, to help motivate and encourage me. If you haven't already caught the gist, I'm a bit of a free spirit, and my connection with my intuition and the universe is what helps me to be as balanced as I am. And with creating my commentary and adding dibs and dabs of this and that, sometimes my moral and my motivational compass, I realize when I share it, it helps other people as well. So that's what the sticky note is. Let's get into it and let's get out of here. Okay.
The following video is broadcasting live, and thank you for being my studio audience. Thank you for hitting thumbs up and subscribing to my channel for more Black news, celebrity entertainment, and a splash of controversy.
So today's sticky note is this: strength is important, but it's not all physical. Okay. No one deserves the right to break you down and reverse your sanity's positive progression. Even the person who conveniently builds you back up to win some sort of recognition for the shit. Somebody who breaks you down just so that they can build you back up, but you're so caught up in the rut of being broken down and built back up that you're thanking them for the buildup, forgetting that when it's all said and done, that they're the reason for your demise. So strength is important, but it's not always physical. It doesn't mean that you've got to go to the gym or go buy a goddamn kettlebell. Exercise your ability to cut people out of your life who threaten your peace. This type of exercise will keep you mentally strong, and it'll keep your boundaries intact too. No one deserves the right to break you down and reverse your sanity's positive progression. Even the person who conveniently builds you back up to win some sort of recognition. Because when it's all said and done, sometimes you've forgotten that they were the reason for your demise. So that's your sticky note, okay? It's short, it's sweet, it's simple. Rewind it if you need to. If you need a little extra something, you can take a trip over to the community tab and it is there as well. Okay? It is the second one down if you need a visual representation. And this is something that, listen, I didn't place it in the post. I didn't place this word in the post, but I've been here and I've done that when it comes to people like this in my world and in my life. And a lot of people naturally, when they commented under this post, they're like, I've dealt with the narcissist. This is what narcissist does. Oh, absolutely. They play all these mind tricks with you. You're so broken because of them. And then they love bomb you, even if it's not when they first met you. It's some later on in the situation, and they do all this stuff to make you feel. It's like, wow, this person is really helping me get better and build me back up. By the time they wow you with all those things and reaffirmative love bombing, you forget that's the person that broke you too. So when a person has a habit of throwing you up against the wall, making you crack, making you crumble, and building you back up, and then when they can't get what they want out of you, and that is how you can get a narcissist to really act crazy, right? Revoke a narcissist's control over you. You will see the biggest temper tantrum you've ever seen in your life. And they will attempt to break you again. And it's a cycle. It's a merry-go-round. You've got to recognize it, though. And so I didn't want to place that label within this quote, right? But I wanted people to understand what might be happening around them if they're not situationally aware of what people are trying to implement on them, and how they are being gaslit into thinking that this person is my savior. If they're breaking you and rebuilding you and breaking you and rebuilding you and breaking you and rebuilding you, they are not your savior. They are the source of a toxic issue that you need to exterminate immediately. And trust me, I get it. It might be hard, because trying to dissociate from or with a narcissist is hard, because they're going to do anything in their power to maintain control over you, make you look crazy, refuse to let you go. There are a lot of things there. And that's why, as a woman, as women, it's important that you be in touch with your chakras and your intuition, so that you can sense things before they get as bad as they get. Your senses are really important, and they help you to hit stage left before the stove even get hot to the point where you sweating. You shouldn't have to get to the point where you have to be broken in order to make a decision. Okay, this is my time to exit the situation. You shouldn't have to crumble to teeny pieces and dust before you realize I need to get out of this. There need to be other indicators before, the universe in general, whether you believe in God, whether you believe in the universe will whisper certain subtleties in your ears, and it will be communicating that way. And if you continue to just brush it off, sooner or later, those whispers will turn into nudges, which will turn into pushes, which will turn into full-blown shakes, which will turn into earthquakes, and it will turn your whole world upside down, because you didn't want to listen to the whisper that started. And as women, our gift is being intuitive. So be in tune with yourself and try to sense when things are off or when people are throwing you off. And don't allow yourself to go so far as to be broken before you decide to put your foot down and cut somebody or something or some variable off. It shouldn't have to get that bad. And that was a lesson that I had to learn the hard way. The hard way when I first moved out of my people's house at 18. I had to learn it the hard way. And I had to learn that you teach people how to treat you too. And when people realize, well, I'm going to be able to treat them this way because they're not going to leave, because I won't leave until I'm broken. People are going to get increasingly worse with what they inflict upon you. So I ain't trying to preach. What I'm saying is you will become tricked and stuck into a trance, basically, when people are able to formulate the habit of breaking you down and doing everything to contribute to your demise. But when they build you back up, you conveniently forget about that. It's because they're clouding your judgment intentionally so that you can look at them as a savior suddenly. Don't let these people pull the wool over your eyes, okay? So that is today's sticky note. Listen, if it resonated with you, okay, be sure to comment down below. I'm doing me, so I know it's real. Go in no contact. Oh my God, that is one of the best words for anybody dealing with a narcissist. I've dealt with narcissists in my family. One of my parents is a narcissist. I actually feel like both of my parents are narcissists, but one is worse than the other. The other is worse, is willing to talk. I've dealt with family narcissists, parental narcissists, relationship narcissists, and no contact is one of those forms, because if a narcissist feels like, well, I can still talk to this person, you're still giving them that room. It leaves a little bit of room for them to do their dirt and do their damage. And they value that space, and they need that teeny bit of space and opportunity to plan and to plant things and ideas and thoughts that are going to throw you off, that are going to shred your boundaries, place them on the back burner so that they can get over on you somehow, one way or another. So no contact is a really good tactic when it comes to severing ties with a narcissist. Oh my God. I know that faux show. 100%. 100%. Someone says 26 years I walked away. I'm doing me. Make sure you comment down below, I'm doing me, if this sticky note resonates with you. And this is whether you on the bus or whether you just catching a replay. This is a sticky note that I really felt. And I couldn't wait to bring it to you all. So listen, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for checking in with your girl, Jane, the plainest Jane. Thank you for also checking in the community tab. That means a lot to me as well. I appreciate y'all donating your time, donating your energy, donating that like, because I know you hit the like button. If you gave a Cash App, thank you. If you gave a super chat, thank you. If you joined the membership, thank you. If you send a super thanks, thank you. That's a new thing here on YouTube, a super thanks. And hopefully y'all were able to get comfortable, decompress and chit chat a little bit. And I really do appreciate y'all's company. Okay. These are the types of videos, as I talk about more serious topics, YouTube will continue to try to suppress videos like this. So it means the world to me when you do engage with my content. But it's just an extra bonus if you are able to share this video on Twitter, on Facebook, via text message, in your group chat, however it is that you share videos, it means a lot, okay? Don't forget to do something for yourself today. Do something, whether it's relaxing, whether it's 10, 15, 20 minutes of me time. Do something for you, and let me know your thoughts on everything that we discussed in this video. We discussed a lot. How do you feel about Karen doing the ultimate Karen thing and suing the school district because she feels like the anti-racist rhetoric that is being taught in schools is stopping her biracial son from doing chores? How are you feeling about that? How are you feeling about the funds within Black Lives Matter being spent on family, nothing being done for the school system, for the victims of the families and the names that she's used or the foundation has used over and over again? How do you feel about those things as well? Okay. Any of y'all thoughts? Make sure you keep it sticky and real down below in the comment section. I can't wait to hear from you. But listen, everybody, it's time for me to go. I definitely need to go to bed. Make sure you subscribe and thumbs up or down. Either way, I appreciate it. But don't forget to hit that notification bell, okay? If you really about it, if you want to add a little razzle dazzle to the way that you support your girl, and for free, right? Because you ain't got to send, a Cash App or a Super Chat. Just hit the like button and also hit the notification bell after you subscribe. It helps to make sure that you are in the know. Because sometimes I'm a night owl, but sometimes I'm also an early bird. Sometimes I'm the 7 p.m.er. You just don't know. And I'll be breaking stories over here too. So that notification bell is going to help keep you informed with all things discussed when it comes to breaking Black news and celebrity updates. Those are my passions. Listen, y'all make sure y'all drop some pancake emojis for me. And y'all stay beautiful, Black, and blessed. Until the next video. Deuces.
But that's it. If you want to catch more of my commentary on Black culture or vital and trending information, be sure to subscribe by hitting that little circle in the middle of the screen, or I'll catch you in one of these rectangles to the right in another video. I'll see you there.